Hey guys, it's Craig from Goblin again, and just welcome to the new office. As you can see, I've spent some time setting things up. I've spent the last about 2 weeks or so. Well, actually, now that I think of it, by the time you see this video, closer to 3 weeks, just moving into my new house and setting things up, cleaning things, painting things, all the normal stuff that goes with buying a new house. And I've put a good chunk of the work into this office. Since some of you guys out there do prefer these like vlog style videos, I figured I would show you all the blood, sweat, and tears that went into setting up my office, networking gear, and making things camera ready. So I'm gonna stop talking now, and then let's just get to the tour.
You smell that? It smells like a bit goblin.
All right, welcome to the new office. And first thing I'd like to point out is just like the wall color. I really like how this blue turned out, although I was kind of hoping for a little bit brighter. But this would be like a nice little background color for the videos, and honestly, it's a very strong blue, but I'm really liking it so far. But anyways, moving on to the desk, where like the main part of the office is, where all the magic happens. This is my trusty desk that I've had for a few years now. You can kind of see on the edges mainly where it's been kind of beaten up a little bit, some of the trims coming off and some scratches all over the place, but it's holding up pretty well and gives me plenty of room to do what I need to do. I have my computer set up over here, Tassadar, the one that I did the video on. Still running the same hardware as before. Got most things hooked up to it, like speakers, a USB hub, keyboard, mouse, all that kind of junk. And down here, supplying power to it, I do have a UPS. It's not a huge one. It's either 600 or 650 milliamp hours, just enough to kind of let me save my work and whatever else in case power goes out. So yeah, that's the main part, I guess. Moving on to some of the smaller stuff. One thing I would like to point out down here is this coax cable. As far as I can tell, the coax cable does work, and this is run through most of the house. Unfortunately, I can't find where it's supposed to terminate in the basement, which is where like my main networking stuff is set up. So maybe I'll use that at some point. Maybe it just stays there. I have tried power lining for networking. That really did not work out. But so far I'm currently on Wi-Fi, which kind of sucks. Makes video editing a little bit of a pain, but you do what you have to do in the meantime. Moving on around the room, here is my nerdy bookshelf. It's got a lot of my like knickknacks and books that I've collected over the years. My favorites being these Phillies pop vinyls I have, and my awesome collection of Star Wars ones, some new, some old, and a few Futurama ones. Obviously that's not really complete, but I'll get a few more down the road. Kind of going around counterclockwise. Back here in the closet, you can see the original color of the room, or at least the color that was there when I moved in. I painted most of the room, didn't feel like painting the closet because, who cares? But here is my bookshelf of projects. As you can see over here on the left, I do have the LSI SAS card. And on the right, I will tease this project for an upcoming video. It's a 10 gigabit networking card. Some fun stuff. Do have some more projects down here. I got a lot of computer hardware right here just waiting to be made for videos, but I'll let y'all watch to figure that out. Now here on top of these boxes, I do have some sound foam that I do want to put up. As you can hear, it is still kind of echoey in here, so I do want to put the sound foam up to kind of help cover the walls a little bit, eat some of the echo. So I do have some spray adhesive coming. Not sure when it'll be here today or tomorrow, but unfortunately this video will be a little echoey. Anyways, underneath the foam are some crates, and to the left of it are some more crates of some decorations and just a lot of boxes. If you remember at my last place, I had a collage of like a bunch of boxes and stuff for hardware, and I do plan on doing something similar. I'll just kind of tease it, not really, but up here in this little gap, I'm gonna put a shelf and put some of the boxes up there as a like a feature piece. Not sure if that'll actually make it into the video, but it'll still be fun for me to have. Now above these boxes, you see, just go up a little bit. Oh, look at that. It's gonna be my test bench. I do wanna find a monitor that's a little bit smaller or has a smaller base or something, so it fits a little bit better. But I do plan on having like this little table here for running benchmarks on games and stuff while I'm, doing other things throughout the day. Now moving to the left a little bit is the camera setup. As you can see, I do have my old phone here, my Pixel 2 XL. The picture quality on this camera should actually make it a lot nicer for the videos compared to my old Logitech C9 20 webcam, whatever one that is. So hopefully that works out pretty well. I'm still kind of working out the warts with that, but anyways, I also have some lights here behind the camera set, which will, help give me some better lighting. Oh, and if you're curious, these lights I think was like $60 for the pair. So really not a bad price. Behind here, you might be a little curious of what this is going to be for. So this was going to be my little tablet script reading stand, but I found something better on Amazon, something a little less janky looking than this. And I just haven't been motivated enough to put all the boxes away, so that'll stay there till that stand comes in. And yeah, that should cover it for the room, honestly. By this point, you should have already seen the actual set shot, so I'm not gonna tease that. What's the point of teasing something you've already seen? But yeah, let's put here and go down to the basement. I just want to point out that if it seems a little different, I just realized my phone's camera was on 30 FPS, not 60. So sorry about that. Let's turn the light on here. As you can see down here, got my drum set that I'm going to set up at some point, and a standing desk, which not sure what I'll have a use for that yet. But anyways, okay, make sure I don't trip on anything. That would be embarrassing. So yeah, here's my network rack. Things aren't quite tidy yet. I have had way more important things to do than tidying up cables and stuff. But the fiber cables especially are kind of, ugh. Anyways, so I guess let's start from the top down. So over here, this little black box is, I want to make a video on this at some point, the hardware in here, because it's actually pretty neat. The brand, I believe, is Protectly or something. It's meant to be kind of like a NUC size networking appliance. I think I spent about like $200, $250 on it. It's very good for a firewall. So as you can see, it's got like 3 or 4 Ethernet ports back here. Let's see if I can show you. 3 are plugged in, 1's not currently used. Yeah, very good for firewall. Currently running OpenSense on that. Honestly, that's been running for me for at least 3 years now. Been running very well. Moving right a little bit, this little adapter up here is a power over Ethernet appliance for my Microtech access point. I'm probably going to return that. But moving on, the top switch right here is the it's Microtech Cloud Smart Switch. Oh, it's right here, CSS 326. This is a 24-port gigabit Ethernet switch and does have 2 SFP plus 10 gigabit ports. And these SFP plus ports were the selling point for me over the Ubiquiti counterpart for this, because the SFP ports were only gigabit and not 10 gig. And this was also a little bit cheaper, I think. At the time, it was like, this switch was about $50 cheaper, so it was cheaper and had better specs in theory, so I went with it. I'm also not a fan of Ubiquiti's Unify stuff for like all the switches and stuff. I'm okay with it for access points, but I don't want it to control my entire network. Anyways, that's a story for another time. Down here is the Microtech Cloud Router Switch CRS 317. And basically, if you guys have worked in like business environments before, you'll know what an aggregation switch or a fiber switch is. This is just 16 ports of 10 gigabit goodness that I got for, I think, $500 or $550 off of Amazon. Oh, and it has 1 gigabit Ethernet port and then a console port. But this is for my 2 VM servers and my NAS to kind of get really fast VM storage, because I have 2 SSDs running the VM storage. In the grand scheme of things, it probably wasn't worth it, but it was really fun for me to do and learn about fiber networking and all the kind of fun junk. So moving on, down one row is this behemoth. I believe this is Camino. This is the first virtual machine server I built using AMD's Ryzen. You can kind of see the cooler over there. This one is running the AMD Ryzen 1700 with 64 gigs of RAM, I believe. And then the hardware in here, beyond adding a little more RAM to it, has been running solidly for me since April of 2017. So this thing is amazing and got me right into AMD Ryzen because it works perfectly fine. Over here are a couple Pis, a Pi 4 on the right and then Pi 3B Plus on the left, I believe. Not sure what I'm going to do with these yet. I do have like cables and stuff for them. I just don't know. I don't have any projects that I really need them for yet. So I was moving on. Got some cables and junk here. Down here is the counterpart to Camino called Geonosis. If you notice the theme of Star Wars, that's that. This is also running AMD Ryzen. Originally, it was running an AMD Ryzen 1700. I built it like, I think 6 months later. But this one suffered from the hardware bug that AMD Ryzen chips had on their first gen. Under certain OSs, in particular Linux and FreeBSD, if you were compiling software or running virtual machines, you ran into like a hardware fault. These two servers run tons of virtual machines, And even in the VMs, I was noticing problems when I was trying to compile software. So I ended up RMAing the chip after tons of troubleshooting, making sure it wasn't like a RAM issue or whatever. And I got back an AMD Ryzen 1700X. Sorry for the dogs barking. They're kind of dumb. But kind of can't really get to it from here. But this does also only have 48 gigs of RAM because I did have a RAM issue in here. And unfortunately, I realized it was bad after the RMA period, so kind of stuck with it. Haven't really needed to use the full 64 gigs of RAM, so I just kind of stuck with 48 for now. So all's good there. Down one level is my NAS. So this is like the big behemoth here. It does a ton of the heavy lifting for my network. Hardware-wise, we'll start with it's currently running an AMD Ryzen 2200G, I believe, 2400G. One of those two. When AMD started releasing their APUs, I was like, oh, this is great. Because then I don't have to get a separate graphics card like I have in these two bad boys for getting displays for consoles and stuff. Not realizing that even though the non-APU chips from AMD Ryzen don't have a GPU on them, they do have like enough graphics power to power a basic console. So at some point I'll have to take the graphics cards out of these two things. And I did kind of waste a little bit of money on here. I could have just gotten something like a 1300X or 1200. That's not the point. AMD Ryzen 2200G, it's got 32 gigs of RAM because it's running FreeNAS with ZFS, which does need a bit of RAM for good performance. You can see here I got a ton of hot swap bays for drives. Got 5 3.5-inch bays for 5 6TB hard drives. Then I have 4 2.5-inch bays here. This top one right here is not currently being utilized because when I got it, I did not realize it was only SATA 2 speeds, not SATA 3. And it worked really well. But when I went to 10 gigabit networking, I was like, oh, I should make it SATA 3. And then the two VM storage SSDs are right here. Those are two 1 terabyte Crucial BX300 drives, I believe. Whatever they are, they've been running very solidly for at least 3 years, probably 4 or 5 years at this point. So yeah, there's my NAS. Very good stuff. I love it so much. It's been running very well on FreeNAS for a while. I've been thinking about going to Unraid, but for VM storage, Unraid isn't the best, so I'll have to figure out what's going on. Oh, and just for reference, with the 5 6TB drives, I'm running a RAID Z2, which takes 2 of the drives out for parity. So I only get about 17.5 terabytes of storage total. Moving on over here to the left of my NAS is the Pi switch, I call it. I don't really need it now, but I did get it when I was at my parents' house because it was easier to run a bunch of short cables from my Pis than to run a bunch of long cables. So I have this here. Again, it's another MikroTik Cloud Router switch, so I can manage it over the command line and web UI if I want to. So this switch right here is nothing too special. I forget what it is. It's like a CRS C19 or something, or CRS 319, sorry. And it's meant to be more like a router. You can see it has Wi-Fi antennas. I just disabled them because the one without Wi-Fi antennas cost more for some reason. So yeah, I just got the router. Okay, almost done, almost done. This little thing on the left is the power brick for the firewall. Don't worry about that. This little stack of 4 Pis here is 2 Pi 2s and 2 Pi 3s, 2 of which are running DNS servers, the other 2 of which are a HTTP load balancer and a Kickstart server. Moving on, this little Pi 4 right here has 2 external hard drives to it. One of them I believe is actually bad at this point, unfortunately. But the point of this was to actually become like a backup server. So it's got 2 5 terabyte USB external hard drives connected to it. And the plan is to put them into either a Btrfs or a MD RAID mirror, so that I have 5 terabytes of storage here that I can back up to. And then if I want to sync anything at any point, I don't have to do anything directly off the NAS. I just do it from this little Pi, and that handles everything else. Then down here, I have 2 UPSs. The one on the right is the CyberPower's 1500 VA UPS that I've had for a few years now. I did have a matching one, but that one died. And then the other UPS here is an APC 1500 VA, what are they called, backups, I think? Yeah, so pretty much just 2 UPSs to split the load between all the systems. So there's the entire rack. So yeah, this is a pretty nice setup right now. I do want to make it a little tidier and maybe get some new shelves, some wider ones, because as you can see, some of the systems are hanging off. So I'll put all the networking gear in the video description. Same for the Raspberry Pis. Network cables you don't have to really worry about. The hardware in these systems I probably won't put in the video description, just because like some of it is kind of old at this point. That's it for this little networking tour. So there you all have it. My office is mostly set up, although I do have some more work to do still. I do still have some decorations to put up, and I mentioned it earlier, but the echo is kind of annoying. It's kind of a small room. The walls are still a little bit bare, and I do have a loud voice, so the echo is kind of a problem. Hopefully, I will have that solved by the next video. I do have some sound foam, like I mentioned, and I do have some spray adhesive coming that I can put on some of the walls, and I think now the ceiling is probably the worst part because it's entirely bare without any fans or lights or anything else. Beyond that, like, I'm pretty close to just being completely happy with the setup. I do still have some kinks to work out with the camera and mic setup because I do have, camera recording and then a mic recording on my computer, but I'll figure that out at some point. Before we wrap things up, there is one more thing I would like to lightly mention, just kind of sprinkle it on there, and that is, since I hit 150 subs, I figured it was time to open up a Patreon to help support some of the videos that I do on this channel. I've purchased a few things for making videos, especially the test bench, which was a little bit of money, and then even the smaller purchases I've made on eBay do add up rather quickly. And at some point I would also like to upgrade to a more professional camera setup as opposed to just recording on my old phone. But anyways, that's more like a future planning thing. And either way, even just a mere $1 or $2 would go a long way to help supporting me get some more hardware to make videos for, and anything would be greatly appreciated. And even if you don't, just watching the video and liking, subscribing, commenting, all that stuff is still all that I ask for. And I won't be doing any sort of paid content where you have to go to Patreon and subscribe to see all my content or just to talk to me or whatever. None of that's going to happen. Everything's going to be freely available as always. But anyways, if you liked the video, then go hit the thumbs up button and go subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos. And if you didn't like it, you know what to do, and just leave me a comment explaining why I sucked and what I can do next time to do better. Also, if you want to talk to me, feel free to hit me up on my Big Goblin Discord server, and I will catch you in the next one.